Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, we're bringing you highlights for panel discussion that I did in Delhi on Delhi being the fashion and textile capital for entrepreneurs and the opportunities and challenges really for them. We do 20 such grand events across the length and the breadth of the country to ensure that the voice of every entrepreneur in the country is heard. Take a listen to some of the highlights we're bringing you tonight. The Indian retail industry, and maybe I can come to you on this first, Ritu, is one of the top 5 retail markets by value and by economic value. My question to you, and I definitely would love to get Harsha's perspective on this as well, what perhaps is driving this in your opinion? Maybe the one or two things that's definitely of interest.
I think perhaps one of the reasons why what is driving this is, unlike the rest of the world, India has managed to sustain an indigenous fashion industry for which there is little or no competition, and we have actually grown up from the grassroots, from almost barefoot doctors going out into the field to start recreating our own textiles. And I don't think you have a phenomenon like this in any part of the world, and the Indian population has been hugely supportive of this fashion and its industry. Otherwise, we'd all be wearing little black dresses, but we are not.
All right, 2% of GDP contribution. We are at $150 billion now. 230 billion is the estimation by 2020, Harsha. Like Ritu's saying, one of the things that's working in our favor is also, indigenous fabrics, textures, as well as the techniques that are being used. What else perhaps is driving? I want to, sort of kick this panel off on a positive note and say what's going in our favor.
So I think it's a mix of multiple things. One is our demographics. If you look at for the last many years, we've always been growing rapidly. The population's been growing. You look at the kind of per capita income growth we've seen over the last 15 odd years, we tripled it, sort of it's helping us even more. And all this set of entrepreneurs that we see here, it's all here because I think we thrive as an entrepreneur. And small entrepreneurs have a good future in this country. I think, it's definitely been that way and it continues to be that way. We see more and more of that coming up now.
Sure. So one thing that any entrepreneur in any industry, of course, looks for is funding. And I want to open this up to this entire panel. But first to you, Dr. Nath, when we're talking funding for any industry or any businesses, there is definitely a checklist. Small businesses, perhaps, correct me if I'm wrong, shouldn't be looking at maybe VCP funding, should perhaps be bootstrapping. And there's opinions on both sides of that. I want to get your comments for someone in this audience, perhaps, who's looking at funding, whatever industry it may be in. What are your hygiene tips?
So I must clarify, in addition to being a professor at MDI, I'm also what we call a baby angel investor. Not a big one, not like Ratan Tata, but a baby one. And in the process, I have seen a lot of startups coming to us for funding. I agree, your first objective should be to try and get funding from either your own savings or your friends and family. Because when you dilute your equity holding in your company, somewhere along the line it's going to hit you. When you find that you have a reasonably proven idea, and this is the right time to go to an outsider, to external people who can get you money, that's the time typically you'll get into angel funding. Not VCs yet, because VCs would be the next stage, but typically angel funding. So that's usually what you would start with.
Okay, I would love to hear personal experiences from everyone who's on this panel in terms of whether you've looked at fundraising, what that experience has been, and what that perhaps has taught you when it comes to how funds are being raised specifically for this industry.
It takes away a lot of liberty, a lot of, the control is taken away, there's a lot of answering, and it takes away a lot of creative freedom. And especially when we talk about fashion, where it's driven from passion, from what you believe in, we would want to do it on our own. So, there's a small baby steps that we take towards growth, which are cautious and sustainable. Okay,
Prashant is definitely agreeing with that.
Yeah, I echo whatever Mr. Singh has just shared with us. And we too have been a passion-driven brand. So till now we have been on our own. So no plans of going for the investment as of now.
Okay, so 2 companies saying bootstrapped.
So in our experience, funding is increasing in women consumer products. So be it technology, be it services, be it a product which is consumed mainly by women, the funding is out there. Investors are looking to invest in that range. I was speaking to a very large fashion retail chain, and their entire next growth is backed on women consumers. They've grown from 20% women consumers to 40% women consumers. So the next phase of investments is going to be in women consumer products. And thankfully we were there, so we managed to get some.
Sure. So, would you agree that perhaps funding is coming in, Harsha, but only into very specific niches in the industry?
Funding is all about what the entrepreneur sees it. I think it's a very valid point Madhur and team have picked up, that if you want to control the way your destiny is charted out, and you want to control it in a particular way for a particular number of years, then you hold back and use your own funds. But once you're looking at rapid scale up and your ambition exceeds your savings, as you said, then you look at someone coming from outside. So I guess the funding is there, but depends on how you're looking at funding and what stage in your life cycle do you look at funding coming in.
Okay. This industry, perhaps more than most other industries, depends on the quality of its manpower, both as designers as well as the front-end staff when it comes to the retail industries. Are you finding the kind of people and the talent that you need? Because most industries that speak to us are saying, we don't have the talent that we need. We have a lot of students who've come in today. And what small businesses should be doing to be able to tap into this manpower?
When we started 50 years back, I was running a cottage industry. The skill levels were all with the handicraft people. I was a catalyst. I didn't have to do more than that because their skill levels were so high that I couldn't teach them anything. As a matter of fact, I was learning from them. We started with a budget of 5,000 rupees. In those days, I guess it meant a lot. And we grew slowly in ways where we were trying to make sure that the crafts that we were doing, and we've got 16 million craftspeople in this country, the crafts we were doing were getting to be more acceptable, they were getting to be more contemporary, they would be able to get to an audience like this without losing its intrinsic value. So I did not really need, at that time, NIFT students because they couldn't have taught the craftspeople anything. But as time grows on and the next generation comes in, they are management kids. They all don't want to go back and sit in a village and watch somebody embroider. They want to scale up the business. They feel there's potential. And the next generation would definitely go out there and want investments. And if you have credibility and you've had the sustaining power to stay that long, you will get investment.
Okay. Any comments on what we've just heard in terms of the manpower? Maybe I can come to you, Soumya. What has been your own experience when it comes to hiring people for the business?
So ours is a very niche industry. We're looking for lingerie designers, somebody who knows how to manufacture, how to design a bra. There's geometry involved there. So that's been difficult to find. However, in terms of fabric knowledge and production knowledge, I think the institutes in India are doing a good job. So it's only the very niche category that's not really taken care of so far.
We have been a very, we started commercial operations in 2015. So mostly we are a passion-driven brand. So it was completely started as a hobby thing. And we are blessed to be working more with the weavers and craftsmen across the country. So not exactly we fit in the...
But don't you, isn't there some amount of training involved there as well?
Not exactly. No.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. So that's an interesting view.
At our end of the spectrum, yes, you're right. It's, I wouldn't call it a cost. When you add skilled manpower, it's an investment. When you're adding new manpower, increasing your team, who have a particular skill set to drive, and especially in today's age, where technology is really important, while we are retaining our employees who've been with us from day one, and making them learn newer techniques, technologies, new ways of working, it is important to imbibe the new talent, the younger talent, to give them a chance to grow with us and pick up what they're great at. Be it technology, be it social media, be it the new techniques, it's a mix of both. So while we retain the old talent, you have to invest in new.
Time for a break here on this episode of a grand event we did in Delhi on the textile and fashion market that exists in Delhi for entrepreneurs. Stay tuned. After this very short break, we'll continue bringing you the highlights. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on the show we bring you highlights of a panel discussion on Delhi, the textile and fashion capital, and the opportunities and challenges for entrepreneurs.
What more can the government do? What more should the government be doing? Maybe, Ritu, I could ask you. I know that the government has a Skill India project, for instance, where they are training manpower for different industries. They do have the textile parks, like Harsha was talking about. There is FDI, which is allowed. There's a lot that the government is doing, but what more?
You want a candid reply?
Absolutely.
I think the government should stay out of design and marketing. It's not their expertise. And this business requires a lot of the two. The best it can do for India, because this is the second largest industry in India, is textiles after agriculture. The best it can do is to encourage the only resource we have in India, which puts us apart from the rest of the world, is our handicrafts and our crafts, and take off the taxes of that. They don't need to promote sarees. They don't have a clue. And they will not be able to design any sarees through there. They just need to do something which the market with our jugaad will effectively take over. And I don't think they can do more than that, but they should at least start. All of Thailand only talks about Thai silk, one product. And we have such a lot of products. And we put so much GST that we are all fighting with the government for it. So there has to be a little more understanding what they're dealing with.
So a hands-off approach.
They're doing very little.
Okay, so a hands-off approach is what you're recommending. Any other views on the panel?
For us, the Make in India campaign has been great. Earlier, when we used to travel internationally, only few of us would actually notice that it's all made in India. And now a handful of us have started to notice because of the Make in India campaign. And we're very firm believers of Make in India, so it's helped us tremendously. The only area where we face an issue and government can help us is adoption of technology to create and to make available good quality yarn at affordable prices, because that's pretty much the only thing that we are importing now, fabric and laces. So if that can be made available in India at affordable prices, I think we're set.
Sure. Harsha, I just very quickly also want to talk about exports. Exports have seen a CAGR of 10% in the last 3 years to 2017. What's helping that perhaps? Do you think it's favorable government policy? Do you think it's just the industry coming together? Do you think it's, indigenous handicrafts, textile, etc. that's perhaps promoting it?
I think multiple things coming together. I think a big thing is also about, smaller entrepreneurs are beginning to market what they thought could not be marketed ever to the larger world. I don't have data to prove this, but when I talk to a lot of our clients, they keep talking about, I could never reach X consumer because there's someone in between. That in-between person sort of seems to have disappeared. I guess, and the government is promoting that too. I've heard that they are trying to sort of tie up with the marketplaces and help smaller entrepreneurs go through them. So we cut the middleman out. So I guess the clearing out of the middleman in one way has sort of helped smaller entrepreneurs try and move products out, and maybe that's sort of giving some bit of boost. Of course, the economy has always been robust, and I think that's also helping things overall. Entrepreneurs, funding, all that coming together. But I think it's mainly a lot of small entrepreneurs who felt tied down over a period of time now getting opened up.
Let me take closing comments from this panel, and I want to come first and foremost to you, Professor Nath. We're looking at investments to the tune of 27,000 crores, which have come into the country since June of 2017. So that's over a period of a year. But are these investments going only into specific maybe industries or industry verticals? Would you maybe like to see it more broad-based? And what are those industries or industry verticals you think funding should go to?
Okay, so if you look at funding that's coming in, I think I mentioned in the beginning, what is the investor looking at? The investor wants rapid growth, scalability, and returns. Quite honestly, it doesn't really matter what the industry is. So in the last 6 years that I have been an angel investor, I have seen enough funding going into as, mundane businesses as, let's say, delivery of milk, delivery of dairy products, delivery of lunch, idli sambar during lunch, right? So all kinds of industries are getting funding. What sector you're in, whether it's technology, whether it is fintech, actually doesn't matter, provided you have the following things. Number one, it's a large enough market. Number two, you have some competitive advantage, because otherwise the other guy will come, put in a little more money, and your business is finished. And number three, most important, you can convince the investor that these two are valid, which means you have a competitive advantage and you're going to show him growth.
Thank you very much for that, Professor Nath. Let me come to you, Harsha. And even as we're talking about the numbers, which look fantastic, export numbers are looking great, e-commerce, huge potential, things are changing on the ground, the contribution to GDP is looking great. Maybe some trends in the textile and the fashion industry that you're looking at to say that in the next 2 to 3 years, this is where a lot of entrepreneurs perhaps will find the most opportunities.
So, an interesting trend is that on the online channel, fashion, apparel and footwear has beaten consumer durables for the first time last year. So that's a big thing, because typically you go and talk for a mobile or something of sort, but people are not looking at fashion, and that's going to continue to grow. So that's one trend which we must keep in mind. So don't ignore online. I understand that it may not play a role in terms of how well you sell, but it just depends on, again, in terms of how you are dealing with your customers, how well you understand them. Are you using it as an experiential channel, or are you using it as a sales channel? Even Ogaan and Madhur and I were talking, that even they have a online channel. And I was very surprised. I said, I didn't think you had it, but you do have it. So that's one big learning for us as we go forward. I think the second thing is around social media. I come back with about a 20% penetration of social media in the country. How you launch and how you use social media to actually penetrate the market is going to be critical. It has its own veins, but you need to leverage it. And especially if Indian entrepreneurs are looking at going outside the country, understanding fashion trends, it's a good way, because you can lean and learn from people who commented on it, rather than just trying to look at one-to-one interactions, trying to understand. So I guess these would be the two big things I would say, which we should lean on as we look at expanding our industry.
Okay, Ritu, I want to talk about the nature of this industry, which is largely unorganized. Reports suggest 93% of all entrepreneurs or all businesses in this industry are unorganized. What perhaps is the biggest failing of that? What's your recommendation? What's your suggestion and advice in terms of consolidating this?
Well, in a way, it's a blessing in disguise that it is unorganized, because we are just too varied a country to have an organized. In New York or Paris, when I go there, just everybody knows the color of the stockings for the next season, because it's prescribed. And these are prescribed by people who've got very deep pockets. And so if green is happening, if you don't wear green, you've had it. No, that's true. It's true of the whole world. Morocco, whether you're in Paris, they're all wearing green. We don't have this problem yet. So that's due to the unorganized part of this business. And secondly, I think an Indian woman, I hope now the men as well, have perhaps the biggest wardrobes and the biggest choices, that you can be wearing a little black dress, you could be wearing a sari, you can pick up a salwar kameez, and you enjoy this diversity. So as long as we have such a diverse country, I think we should enjoy that, rather than say we'll all become Zaras and we'll all wear the same trousers. So, I mean, this is the nature of the beast.
Thanks very much for that candid view. My next question is for Soumya, Prashant and Madhur Ben, and this is on the competitive advantage and edge of a business based in Delhi. Reports suggesting 80% of all global brands that are coming into the country are first setting up base in Delhi and are coming through Delhi. How can this city then consolidate that competitive edge?
So Delhi has multiple advantages. One is that it's close to, it's not just Delhi, it's NCR. So we get different cultures from Haryana and UP also consolidated here. Then the entire Northeast travels to Delhi to consume fashion. And if you look at the population versus the real estate, the density also helps Delhi in terms of cost of presence. Delhi has the highest per capita income as compared to metros. It has a young population, which is with increasing speed consuming fashion. So I think for retail brands, it's the best place to be to start with.
Sure.
According to me, the best advantage that Delhi offers is diversity. So as Soumya said, any brand, any international brand for that matter, entering India through Delhi has advantage of testing the flavor of India through Delhi, because people from diverse backgrounds live here, not just Haryana and UP, but
exactly.
And it's been a migrant city, capital city. Apart from that, the audience here is very receptive to new trends, very, very well aware of new trends. And to top it all, the presence of FDCI, leading designers, higher per capita income, good fashion institutes, make it gives it a competitive edge.
Great. Madhur Ben?
So absolutely, there's a demographic advantage, there's an economic advantage of Delhi being the capital city of India. And apart from it, I think it's just, I'm not talking about 10 years back. If you look back even 500 years back, Delhi has been the cultural capital for, let's say, Indian region per se, which means that fashion, culture, art, music, everything amalgamates here. So anything new, there's a very big audience receptive to it, which is a big incubation factor for all designers, artists, even for food is the boiling pot. So that makes Delhi really easy to start off.
All right, ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much.
If you have any feedback on any of the points which have been raised in that panel, or if you want to know which city we're headed to next, here's how you get in touch. leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com is our email ID. You can also get in touch with us on social media. Tweet at me personally at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now, or get in touch with us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good night.